The story of the second old man and of the two black dogs. Great prince of the genii, you must know that we are three brothers, these two black dogs and myself. Our father died, leaving us each 1,000 sequins. With this sum, we all three took up the same profession and became merchants. A short time after we had opened our shops, my eldest brother, one of these two dogs, resolved to travel in foreign countries for the sake of merchandise. With this intention, he sold all he had and bought merchandise suitable to the voyages he was about to make. He set out and was away for a whole year. At the end of this time, a beggar came to my shop. "Good day," I said. "Good day," he answered. "Is it possible that you do not recognize me?" Then I looked at him closely and saw that he was my brother. I made him to come to my house and asked him how he had fared in this enterprise. "Do not question me," he replied. "You see me? You see all I have. It would but renew my trouble to tell of all the misfortunes that have befallen me this year, and I have brought me to this state." I shut up my shop, paid him every attention, taken him to the bath, given him my most beautiful robes. I examined my accounts and found that I had doubled my capital, that is, that now I possessed 2,000 sequins. I gave my brother half, saying, "Now, brother, you can forget your losses." He accepted them with joy, and we lived together as we had before. Some time afterwards, my second brother wished also to sell his business and travel. My eldest brother and I did all we could do to persuade him, but it was no use. He joined the caravan and set out. He came back at the end of the year in the same state as his elder brother. I took care of him. As I had 1,000 sequins to spare, I gave it to him, and he reopened his shop. One day my two brothers came to me to propose that we should make a journey and trade. At first I refused to go. "You traveled," I said, "and what did you gain?" But they came to me repeatedly, and after having held out for 5 years, at last I gave away. But then we started making the preparation, and my brothers began to buy merchandise we needed. They found they spent every piece of the 1,000 sequins I have given. So I did not reproach them. I divided my 6,000 sequins with them, giving 1,000 to each and keeping one for myself, and the other 3 I buried in a corner of my house. We bought a merchandise, loaded a vessel with it, and set forth with a favorable wind. After 2 months' sailing, we arrived at a seaport, where disembarked and did a great trade. Then we bought the merchandise of that country, and were just gonna sail once more, when I was stopped on the shore by a beautiful, though poorly dressed woman. She came up to me, kissed my hand, and implored me to marry her and take her on the board. At first I refused, but she begged so hard and promised to be such a good wife to me that I at last consented. I got her some beautiful dresses, and after having married her, we embarked and set sail. During the voyage, I discovered so many good qualities in my wife that I had begun to love her more and more. But my brothers began to be jealous of my prosperity and set to work to plot against my life. One night, when we were sleeping, they threw my wife and myself into the sea. My wife, however, was a fairy, and so she did not let me drown, but transported me to an island. When the day dawned, she said to me, "When I saw you on the seashore, I took a great fancy to you and wished to try your good nature. So I presented myself in disguise you saw. Now I have rewarded you by saving your life, but I am very angry with your brothers, and I shall not rest till I have taken their lives." I thanked the fairy for all that she had done for me, but I begged her not to kill my brothers. I appeased her wrath, and in a moment she transported me from the island where we were to the roof of my house, and she disappeared a moment afterwards. I went down, opened the doors, and dug up the 3,000 sequins which I had buried. I went to the place where my shop was, opened it, and received from my fellow merchants congratulations on my return. When I went home, I saw 2 black dogs who came to meet me with sorrowful faces. I was much astonished, but the fairy reappeared to me. She said, "Do not be surprised to see these dogs. They are your 2 brothers. I have condemned them to remain for 10 years in these shapes." Then heaven told me where I could hear news of her. She vanished. The 10 years are nearly past, and I am on the road to find her. As in passing, I met this merchant and the old man with the hind. I stayed with them. This is my story. O Prince of the Genii, do you not think it is the most marvelous one? "Yes, indeed," replied the genie, "and I will give up to you the third of the merchant's punishment." Then the 3rd old man made the genie the same request as the other 2 had done, and the genie promised him the last third of the merchant's punishment of his story surpassed both the others. So he told his story to the genie, but I cannot tell you what it was, as I do not know. But I do know that it was even more marvelous than the either of the 2, so that the genie was astonished and said to the 3rd man, "I will give up to you the 3rd part of the merchant's punishment. He ought to thank all 3 of you for having interested yourselves in his favor. But for you, he would be here no longer." So he disappeared to the great joy of the company. The merchant did not fail to thank his friends, and each went on his way. The merchant returned to his wife and children, and passed the rest of his days happily with them. "But sire," added Scheherezade, "how beautiful are the stories I have just told you. They cannot compare to the story of the fisherman." If you want to hear that story, stay tuned.